Welcome back to the session on skeletal system of Hoplobatrachus type genus. We have been discussing on the vertebral column and we're continuing with the different kinds of vertebrae. The eighth vertebrae, the next one, here we can see the centrum is amphicoelous. Amphicoelous we have already seen when we discussed on the type of the vertebrae, that is it is having a concavity on either side, that is concavity on the front side as well as on the posterior side. You can see here. Okay, there is a depression over here. There will be a depression on the side as well. Okay, now the seventh vertebrae, which is a typical one, is procoelous in nature. Procoelous means anteriorly they will be having a concavity, but posteriorly they will be having a convex nature or protuberance. Okay, so this protuberance of the seventh vertebrae, it fits into the anterior concavity of the centrum of the eighth vertebrae. Okay, so that is how it like smoothly fits and brings about the articulation between the seventh and the eighth. The transverse process here are long, slender, and outwardly directed. Pre-zygapophysis and post-zygapophysis are present on the anterior and the posterior margins of the neural arch. You can see over here the anterior and the post. What you call the pre-zygapophysis and the post-zygapophysis, just like similar to the seventh vertebrae. The only difference between the seventh and the eighth, or the typical and the eighth, it is the transverse process. It is actually what you call slender, and the centrum is amphicoelous, unlike the procoelous in the typical. Okay, passing on to the next one, the ninth vertebra. The ninth vertebra is also known as sacral vertebra, okay, because of its position. The centrum of the ninth vertebra is biconvex. So what does it mean? The name indicate it is convex on both the sides. It is having convexities on both the sides. Okay, so convex in the sense it is having a protuberance. Okay, the anterior convexity, it fits into the posterior concavity of the eighth vertebra. The eighth vertebra, it is having concavity on both the sides, and here it is having convexity on both the sides. Okay, so here what happens is the convex protuberance of the ninth vertebra fits into the what you call the posterior concavity of the eighth vertebra. Okay, the posterior convexities fit into the anterior concavities of the Eurostyle. Here you can see there are what you call the centrum on the posterior side. They have the convexities. Okay, so these convexities, it fits into. Here you can see the two convexities. Okay, this is the posterior part. So these two are the convexities. Two convexities will be there on the posterior side, and these fits into the Eurostyle. The Eurostyle is having a complementary concavities on its side. The transverse processes are cylindrical, they are stout and backwardly directed. The iliac facet, you can see on the terminal end of the transverse process, the iliac facet. It is present at the tip of each transverse process, and it is meant for the articulation of iliac bone of the pelvic girdle. So the sacral vertebra or the ninth vertebra, it articulates with the pelvic girdle, the iliac bone of the pelvic girdle, through the transverse process. Okay, neural spine is very small. It is inconspicuous, that is greatly reduced. Pre-zygapophysis, they are well developed along the anterior end of the neural arch, while the post-zygapophysis are okay. So here you can see these are the characteristic features of the ninth vertebra. Okay, so here it is both convex on both the sides. The posteriorly it is having two convexities. Then the transverse process is backwardly directed, stout and cylindrical in nature, having a iliac facet at the terminal end for the articulation of the vertebra with the pelvic girdle. Okay, now we can see the next bony structure, the sorry. Okay, so next vertebra, it is the Eurostyle, and it is the last one. And Eurostyle, you can see it is long, like a slender one, and it is the terminal part of the vertebral column. It represents the fused tail vertebrae of the larva. there is tail portion. There's a tail part in the case of tadpole, while in the case of adult, what happens during metamorphosis? It is reduced. Okay, so all those tail vertebrae, it gets fused to form the Eurostyle in adult during the metamorphosis, and it is a Eurostyle is a long. You can see it is flat and tapering. So here, this is the anterior part. This is the posterior part. So it is tapering. It is towards the posterior end, and dorsally, this is the dorsal part. It is having a ridge or crest formed by the fusion of neural spines of the larva, the tail vertebrae of the larva. So, as already mentioned, the tail vertebrae of larva fuses to form the Eurostyle. So, the neural spines of all those vertebrae, the fused vertebrae, it joins together or fuses together to form what is known as a carina or keel or a crest. Okay, it is present on the dorsal side. Then what we can see is it contains a canal, which is known as the canalis vertebralis or the neural canal. It lodges the phylum terminale. Okay, I hope you remember when we discussed about the spinal cord, the extreme posterior part is very narrow and it is referred as a phylum terminale, and it is this phylum terminale which lodges into the spinal cord. Okay, so here you can see the cavity for the spinal cord, and here the phylum terminal of the spinal cord rests. Now anteriorly, the Eurostyle has two, you can see the two concavities, two depressions, and these are articular depressions for the convexities, the two convexities on the posterior part of the centrum of the ninth vertebrae. Okay, so these are the what you call vertebrae of the vertebral column of frog. So we saw the typical structure of the structure of a vertebra. Then we saw the different types of vertebra, that is amphicoelous. We saw the procoelous vertebra. Then biconvex, we had opisthosceles, all those different types, heterocoelous in birds. And we also saw that in the case of frog, the vertebral column is composed of 9 vertebrae and a Eurostyle. Among the 9 vertebrae, the first, that is the atlas vertebra, 8th, 9th are unique. They have peculiar features which are different from each other, while the 2nd to 7th, they are almost exactly similar, and hence we regard it as a typical vertebra. And we discussed upon the structure of typical vertebra, atlas vertebra, then 8th and 9th, and this here we have the Eurostyle. So this is all about the vertebral column of frog. Okay.